Commander Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Starship Liberty, watching the massive alien space station grow larger through the view screen. The structure was enormous, bigger than any city on Earth. It floated in the darkness around a spinning neutron star, its metal surfaces gleaming with strange lights. "Sir, we're receiving a docking signal," reported Lieutenant Carol Webb from her station. Her voice was steady, but Jake could hear the nervousness underneath. This was humanity's first official meeting with alien life, and everyone knew how important it was. "Follow their instructions," Jake said. "And remember, we're here to talk, not fight." Dr. Lisa Parker moved beside him, clutching a tablet filled with translation software and diplomatic protocols. She had spent 3 years preparing for this moment, ever since Earth had detected the first alien radio signals. Her brown hair was pulled back in a tight bun, and her green eyes showed both excitement and worry. "The translation program is working perfectly," she said. "Their language is complex, but we can understand them. The problem is whether they want to understand us." The Liberty slowly docked with the alien station. Jake had commanded Earth's newest starship for 2 years, but nothing had prepared him for this. The ship was humanity's pride, built with the best technology they had. But compared to what he was seeing now, it looked like a child's toy. The docking tube connected with a soft thud. Jake straightened his Blue Earth Federation uniform and checked his sidearm. Protocol said he should be armed, but he hoped he would never need to use it. "Dr. Parker, Lieutenant Commander Ross, you're with me," Jake said. "Everyone else, stay sharp and monitor all communications." The 3 humans walked through the docking tube and into the alien station. The air smelled different, metallic and sharp. The walls were smooth and curved, covered in panels that glowed with soft purple light. Strange symbols moved across the surfaces like living text. An alien creature waited for them in the reception area. It was tall and thin, with gray skin that looked like leather. Its head was larger than a human's, and its eyes were black and deep. It wore flowing robes that seemed to shift color as it moved. "I am Speaker Nothel of the Zephyrian delegation," the creature said. Its voice came from a small device on its chest, translating its words into English. "You will follow me to the council chamber. Do not speak unless spoken to. Do not touch anything. Your presence here is ... tolerated." Jake felt his jaw tighten at the alien's rude tone, but he said nothing. They followed Speaker Nothel through long corridors filled with other alien beings. Some looked like giant insects with multiple arms. Others seemed to be made of living crystal. A few floated in the air inside bubble suits filled with gas. The council chamber was vast, with a high ceiling that disappeared into shadows. 12 raised platforms surrounded a central area where the humans were directed to stand. On each platform sat a different type of alien, representing the 12 species that ruled the galaxy. The largest platform held a creature that was clearly the leader. It was massive, with thick arms and a head covered in horn-like spikes. Its eyes glowed red as it looked down at the humans. "I am High Chancellor Vextar of the Galactic Council," the creature said. Its voice was deep and rumbling, even through the translator. "You represent the species called humans from the planet you call Earth." "Yes, sir," Jake replied. "I am Commander Jake Morrison of the Earth Federation. We come in peace, hoping to establish friendly relations with your council." Several of the aliens made sounds that the translator interpreted as laughter. "High Chancellor." Vextar leaned forward on his platform. "Peace," he said, as if the word tasted bad. "Your species has been observed for some time. You are violent, unpredictable, and primitive. You fight wars among yourselves over resources and beliefs. You poison your own planet and destroy your environment. You are barely capable of traveling between stars." Dr. Parker stepped forward. "We admit that humanity has problems, but we're working to solve them. We've achieved peace among most of our nations. We're cleaning up our environment. We've developed faster than light travel and want to share our knowledge with others." "Share?" said another alien from a crystal platform. Its voice sounded like wind chimes. "What could you possibly have that we would want? We have ruled this galaxy for 10,000 years. Our technology is beyond your understanding. Our wisdom spans millennia." Nevertheless, High Chancellor Vexstar continued, "Your species has reached a level where it must be ... managed. The Council has decided that Earth will be brought under our protection." Jake felt his blood turn cold. "Protection?" "Yes," Vexstar said with what might have been a smile. "You will surrender all military vessels and weapons to Council forces. You will submit to Council oversight of your government and laws. You will provide 60% of your planet resources as tribute for this protection. Council representatives will be stationed on Earth to ensure compliance." The chamber fell silent except for the humming of machinery. Jake looked at Dr. Parker, seeing his own shock reflected in her eyes. Lieutenant Commander Ross's hand moved slightly toward his weapon before catching himself. "And if we refuse?" Jake asked quietly. "Refuse?" High Chancellor Vexstar stood up to his full height, which was enormous. "You think you have a choice? Your entire species has 12 ships capable of interstellar travel. We have 50,000. Your most powerful weapons are nuclear devices. We can crack planets like eggs. You speak of refusing as if you were our equals." The insect-like alien on another platform clicked its mandibles. "Perhaps we should demonstrate our power. A few destroyed cities would help them understand." "That won't be necessary," Vexstar said. "They are intelligent enough to see reason. You have 30 standard galactic days to comply with our requirements. That is approximately 42 of your Earth days. Use this time wisely." Dr. Parker frowned. Her voice, "Surely we can negotiate some kind of agreement that benefits both sides. We could trade technology, share cultural knowledge, work together for mutual growth." The laughter from the Council was louder this time. Several aliens made dismissive gestures. "You still don't understand," Vexstar said. "This is not a negotiation. This is an ultimatum. You will comply, or you will face corrective action. The choice is yours, but choose carefully. The Council's patience is not infinite." Jake felt anger building in his chest, but he forced himself to remain calm. "We will need to discuss this with our government." "Of course," Vexstar said. "Return to your primitive world. Speak with your leaders. But remember, in 42 days, Council ships will arrive at Earth. We will expect your complete surrender." The audience was clearly over. Speaker Nothel appeared beside them again, gesturing toward the exit. As they walked back through the corridors, Jake's mind was racing. Behind his calm expression, he was already thinking about Earth's response. What the aliens didn't know was that humanity had been preparing for this possibility since the first alien signals were detected. What they saw as primitive stubbornness, humans called determination. And Earth was about to show the galaxy what that determination could accomplish. The Liberty undocked from the alien station and began its journey back to Earth. In the cargo hold, hidden recording devices captured every word of the meeting. The Galactic Council had made their position clear. Now it was humanity's turn to respond. President Helen Cross stood at the head of the long table in the secure briefing room, deep beneath the White House. The room had no windows and thick concrete walls that could block any electronic signals. Around the table sat the most powerful leaders on Earth, their faces grim as they watched the recording from the Liberty. High Chancellor Vexstar's voice filled the room through the speakers, demanding Earth's surrender. When the recording ended, silence stretched for several long moments. 60% of our resources, said Chancellor Liu of the Asian Federation, shaking his head. They want to turn us into slaves. The question is, President Cross said, what do we do about it? General Stone, what are our military options? General Rick Stone was a big man with gray hair and steady eyes. He had been preparing for this moment for 3 years, ever since the first alien signals were detected. He stood up and activated the wall display. Ma'am, What I'm about to show you is classified at the highest level, he said. Only 12 people on Earth know the full scope of Project Prometheus. The display showed a star map of the solar system, but it was different from any public chart. Red dots marked positions throughout space, from Earth's orbit all the way out to the asteroid belt. 3 years ago, when we first heard alien radio signals, we started preparing, General Stone continued. We knew that first contact might not be peaceful. So we began Project Prometheus, the most secret military program in human history. Prime Minister Roberts of the European Union leaned forward. What exactly is Project Prometheus? Advanced weapons research, General Stone said. Dr. Carter, would you explain? Doctor. Alan Carter was a thin man with wild hair and thick glasses. He looked more like a college professor than a weapons designer, but his mind was one of the sharpest on Earth. We started with a simple question, Dr. Carter said. What if our lack of advanced technology was actually an advantage? Alien civilizations have been using the same basic principles for thousands of years. They think in patterns, but humans think differently. We're chaotic, unpredictable, creative. Get to the point, Doctor, President Cross said. We developed quantum disruption missiles, Dr. Carter said excitedly. They don't just explode. They disrupt the quantum field that holds matter together. Any ship hit by one doesn't just get damaged, it falls apart at the atomic level. Several leaders shifted uncomfortably in their chairs. President Cross raised an eyebrow. And that's just the beginning. Doctor. Carter continued. We also created adaptive AI fighters called Hornets. They learn from each battle, constantly changing their tactics. Most importantly, we developed phase shift technology. Which is what? Asked General Martinez of South America. We can make our ships temporarily intangible, Dr. Carter said. They can pass through solid matter for short periods. Imagine trying to shoot at something you can't touch. General Stone took over again. We've been building weapons and ships in secret for 3 years. Hidden factories on the moon, asteroid mining operations that double as military bases, cloaked satellites throughout the solar system. The aliens think we have 12 interstellar ships. We actually have over 200 combat vessels. The room erupted in surprised voices. President Cross held up her hand for silence. Where did we get the resources for this? She asked. The space mining programs that everyone thought were just commercial ventures, General Stone said. Private companies working with secret government funding. We've been mining asteroids for rare metals, building ships in hidden shipyards, training pilots in classified programs. Who's commanding this fleet? President Cross asked. Commander Bess Sullivan, General Stone said. Best pilot and strategist we have. She's been training our people for 3 years, developing new tactics that no alien military would expect. On another screen, Commander Sullivan appeared via video link from a secret base somewhere in the asteroid belt. She was a woman in her 30s with short black hair and sharp blue eyes. Madam President, she said, the Terran Strike Force is ready. We have pilots from every nation on Earth, flying ships that use technology the aliens have never seen. We've run thousands of combat simulations based on alien tactics from their old battles. How do you know their tactics? Asked President Cross. We've been listening to their communications for 3 years, said Director Walsh of the Global Intelligence Agency. We know how they think, how they fight, how they organize their fleets. They use the same strategies they've used for centuries because they always work. General Stone smiled grimly. But they've never fought humans before. Dr. Carter pulled up another display, showing ship designs that looked nothing like traditional spacecraft. They were angular, strange, covered in unusual equipment. Our ships don't follow their design principles, he said. Their technology is based on efficiency and logical construction. Ours is based on controlled chaos. Random armor patterns that confuse their targeting systems. Weapons that fire in unpredictable sequences. Hull designs that make no sense to their computers. President Cross studied the information for several minutes. Around the table, World leaders were beginning to understand the scope of what had been hidden from them. Why wasn't the Global Council informed of this project? Demanded President Okafor of the African Union. Because we needed complete secrecy, General Stone said. If even one piece of information had leaked, the aliens would have detected our preparations. We had to let them think we were helpless. And you think this will work against a force that has conquered the entire galaxy? Asked Chancellor Liu. Commander Sullivan answered from the screen. Sir, they've conquered the galaxy using the same methods for 10,000 years. Overwhelming force against civilizations that fight like them. But humans don't fight like anyone else. We break rules they don't even know exist. President Cross stood up. General Stone, how long before the alien fleet arrives? 42 days, ma'am. But our intelligence suggests they'll send an advance force first, probably in about 30 days. War Commander Krelenov of the Mentari Swarm is leading it. 500 ships, expecting easy victory. And we're ready for them? More than ready, Commander Sullivan said. We've been waiting for this fight for 3 years. The aliens think they're coming to collect tribute from a primitive world. They're about to learn that humans don't surrender. Dr. Carter was practically bouncing with excitement. The beautiful thing is, everything they think they know about us is wrong. They see chaos where we see tactics. They see primitive technology where we see innovation. They think our creativity is a weakness, but it's our greatest strength. President Cross looked around the table at the world leaders. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a decision to make. Do we surrender to the Galactic Council, or do we show them what humanity is capable of? One by one, the leaders voted. The decision was unanimous. General Stone activated his communication device. All units, this is command. Operation Prometheus is now active. Prepare for war. In hidden bases throughout the solar system, human warriors began final preparations for a battle that would shock the galaxy. The aliens thought they were coming to claim another easy conquest. They were about to discover that Earth fights back. War Commander Krelenov stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Devourer, watching the blue planet grow larger on his screens. Behind him stretched a fleet of 500 ships, the largest force the Mentari Swarm had sent against a single cruising. Whirled in over a century, his insect-like body was covered in thick black armor, and his forearms moved constantly as he checked battle reports. 2 large eyes on stalks turned to examine different displays while his mandibles clicked with satisfaction. This would be an easy victory. Report, he commanded in the clicking language of his people. Long-range scans showed 12 primitive vessels. In orbit around the 3rd planet, reported his tactical officer. They appear to be their entire interstellar fleet. No significant weapon signatures detected. Krelenus' mandibles spread in what passed for a smile among his species. 12 ships against 500. The humans were either incredibly brave or incredibly stupid. Have they responded to our arrival? He asked. Yes, War Commander. They're requesting communication. Put them through. Let's see what these primitives have to say. The main screen flickered and showed the bridge of a human ship. A man in a blue uniform stood at attention, his face calm and professional. The translator identified him as Admiral Troy Martinez of the Terran Defense Fleet. This is Admiral Martinez commanding the Earth Defense Force, the human said. You are entering sovereign human space without permission. State your intentions. Krelenov let out a series of clicks that the translator converted to laughter. Sovereign space? Human, this entire star system now belongs to the Galactic Council. I am War Commander Krelenov, and I bring the Council's final demand. I'm listening, Admiral Martinez said. You have 1 hour to surrender completely, Krelenov. Side, all ships will stand down and prepare to be boarded. All planetary defenses will be deactivated. Your government will transmit unconditional surrender to the Council. Refuse, and we will begin orbital bombardment of your major cities. Admiral Martinez was quiet for a moment. Then he said something that made Krelenov-S eyes widen in surprise. Counteroffer. You have 1 hour to leave this star system. If you're still here when the time is up, we'll remove you ourselves. The bridge of the Devourer fell silent. Several of Krellinov's S officers made shock-clicking sounds. In 10,000 years of galactic conquest, no primitive species had ever made such a statement. Did you just threaten us? Krellinov asked slowly. That's correct, Admiral Martinez said calmly. You have 59 minutes remaining. Krellinov cut the communication and turned to his officers. Are they insane? Do they not understand what they face? Perhaps they don't realize our numbers, War Commander, suggested his science officer. Their primitive sensors may not be able to count our full fleet. Broadcast our fleet strength on all frequencies, Krellinov ordered. Let them see exactly how hopeless their situation is. The communication channel reopened, this time showing split screens of all 500 ships in the Montari fleet. The display was meant to inspire terror and immediate surrender. Admiral Martinez looked at the images without any change in expression. Impressive, he said. Is that your final answer? Before Krellinov could respond, another voice joined the communication. The screen expanded to show High Chancellor Vextar himself, calling from the Council station many light years away. Admiral Martinez, Vextar said with obvious amusement. I wanted to witness this historic moment personally. You are about to become the first human to understand the true power of the Galactic Council. Chancellor, Admiral Martinez nodded. Politely, I was hoping you'd be here for this. You show remarkable calm for someone facing extinction, Vextar said. Tell me, what gives you the confidence to threaten forces that have conquered thousands of worlds? Experience, Admiral Martinez said simply. Vextar's laugh was a deep rumble. Experience? You've never fought a space battle in your lives. Your entire species has existed for less time than I have been alive. What possible experience could you have? On Earth, in the hidden command center beneath Colorado, Dr. Sarah Williams watched the communication while monitoring dozens of displays. Around her, technicians prepare humanity's secret weapons for deployment. Admiral, she said through a private channel, all systems are ready. Hornet squadrons are in position. Phase shift generators are online. Quantum mines are armed. Admiral. Martinez touched his ear briefly, acknowledging the message, then returned his attention to the aliens. Chancellor, in the past 3 years, we've studied every battle the Council has fought, he said. We know your tactics, your strategies, your weaknesses. You always do the same thing because it always works. But you've never fought an enemy. That doesn't follow the rules. Rules? Vextar said. What rules? The rules that say you have to fight logically, Admiral Martinez said. The rules that say technology must be efficient and predictable. The rules that say military tactics must make sense. War Commander Krellinov was growing impatient. Enough of this nonsense. Human, you have 30 minutes to surrender. After that, we begin destroying your cities. Let me save you some time, Admiral Martinez said. The answer is no. We will not surrender. We will not submit. And we will not be conquered. The alien officers on both ships made sounds of disbelief. Vextar leaned forward on his throne. You realize this means the death of your entire species? He said. Maybe, Admiral Martinez admitted. But humans would rather die free than live as slaves. That's something you'll never understand. War Commander Krellinov had heard enough. This is madness. No species chooses extinction over surrender. Then you don't know humans very well. Admiral Martinez said. Dr. Williams spoke again through the private channel. Admiral, we're detecting energy buildups in their weapon systems. They're preparing to attack. Understood? Admiral Martinez said quietly. Then, louder, he addressed the aliens again. I want to thank you both for this conversation. You've just proved that the Council hasn't learned anything new in 10,000 years. That's going to make this much easier. Make what easier? Vextar demanded. Beating you, Admiral Martinez said. High Chancellor Vextar's eyes glowed with anger. War Commander Krellinov, I want this human destroyed immediately. Show him the price of defying the council. It will be my pleasure, Krellina said. Yi turned to his weapons officer. All ships prepare to fire. Target their pathetic fleet and their orbital installations. Leave nothing intact. Sir, the weapons officer said, target locks are ... strange. The human ships are showing inconsistent readings. Just fire. Krellina ordered. Admiral Martinez smiled for the first time during the conversation. Too late, he said, and cut the communication dot in space around Earth. The 12 visible human ships suddenly flickered and disappeared, becoming transparent as phase shift technology activated. The Council fleet's targeting computers immediately lost their locks. War Commander, Krellina stared at his screens in confusion. Where did they go? Sir, his tactical officer said in a shaking voice, they're everywhere. Sensors across the fleet detected new contacts appearing throughout the solar system. Not 12 ships, but over 200. Human vessels materialize from behind asteroids, to cloak from hidden positions, and rose from what it appeared to be empty space. Impossible, Krellina whispered on the council station. High Chancellor Vextar watched the tactical display with growing alarm. The primitive humans had somehow hidden a massive fleet. How? He demanded, but there was no one to answer. The battle was about to begin, and for the first time in 10,000 years, the Galactic Council was about to face an enemy that fought back. War Commander Krellina screamed orders across his bridge as human ships appeared everywhere around his fleet. His forearms moved frantically over control panels, while his compound eyes tried to track the impossible number of targets. Fire! Fire at everything, he shouted. All ships, open fire! 500 alien ships unleashed their weapons at once. Brilliant energy beams and plasma bolts filled space with deadly light. The barrage was massive enough to destroy entire planets. But the weapons passed harmlessly through empty space. What's happening? Krellina demanded. Why aren't we hitting anything? Sir, the human ships are. They're not solid, his weapons officer reported, his voice shaking. Our energy passes right through them. On the bridge of the Defiant, Admiral, Martinez watched the alien attack with calm satisfaction. All around him, his crew worked at their stations with quiet efficiency. Phase shift holding steady across all ships, reported his science officer. Their weapons can't touch us while we're intangible. Excellent, Admiral Martinez said. Signal all units. Begin attack pattern chaos. Throughout the human fleet, Captain Danny Brooks received the signal aboard his fighter carrier Wasp. Around him, launch bays opened and small craft began pouring out. Hornet Squadron, this is your moment, Danny said into his communicator. Remember your training. These aliens think in straight lines. We think in curves. The Hornet fighters were unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. They were small, fast, and controlled by advanced AI that learned and adapted in real time. As they launched, their computer brains began analyzing alien ship designs, weapon patterns, and tactical formations. War Commander Krellina watched in, growing horror as hundreds of tiny human craft swarmed toward his fleet. Deploy fighter screens, he ordered. Crush these insects. Montari fighters launched from the alien ships, sleek and deadly. They had conquered the skies of 1,000 worlds. But as they engaged the human hornets, something impossible happened. Human fighters moved in ways that made no sense. They spun and twisted through space in patterns that no sane pilot would attempt. They fired their weapons in seemingly random directions, but somehow every shot found its target. Lieutenant Amy Foster piloted her Hornet through a formation of alien fighters. Her ship's AI constantly adjusting tactics. The aliens flew in perfect formation, following centuries-old battle patterns. Her computer learned their movements in seconds and began predicting where they would be. Too easy, she muttered, destroying 3 alien fighters with shots that curved around asteroids and through debris fields. On the Devourer, Tactical displays showed Montari fighters being destroyed faster than anyone thought possible. The human craft seemed to dance through space, impossible to predict or counter. How are they doing this? Krellenith demanded, but his attention was pulled away as the human capital ships suddenly became solid again. Admiral Martinez had timed the rematerialization perfectly. The entire Terran fleet appeared in perfect attack formation, having moved through the alien lines while intangible. "Fire quantum disruption missiles," Admiral Martinez ordered calmly. Commander Beth Sullivan, commanding the strike cruiser Thunder, watched her weapons officer prepare the special missiles. "Target the larger ships first," she said. "Let's show them what human science can do." The quantum disruption missiles were invisible to alien sensors until the moment they struck. When the first one hit a Mentari heavy cruiser, something beautiful and terrible happened. The ship didn't explode. Instead, it began to come apart at the atomic level. Hull plates separated into individual molecules. Equipment dissolved into component elements. In seconds, a massive warship became nothing but scattered atoms. "By the Great Swarm," Krellenith whispered, watching his ships dissolve one by one. "What kind of weapons are these?" Dr. Sarah Williams monitored the battle from Earth's command center, coordinating the human attack with cold precision. "Phase 2, she announced. "Activate the Chaos Protocol." Across the human fleet, ships began moving in patterns that violated every rule of space combat. They flew upside down, sideways, in spirals and loops that made alien targeting computers crash from trying to calculate impossible trajectories. Captain Steve Parker, commanding the destroyer Lightning, led his ship in a corkscrew pattern through the alien formation. His weapons fired in all directions, each shot guided by intuition and split-second timing rather than computer calculations. "Sir, our movement pattern makes no tactical sense," his navigator reported. "Exactly," Steve said with a grin. "That's why it works." The alien fleet, built around logical formations and predictable tactics, began to fall apart. Their computers couldn't track targets that moved chaotically. Their weapons couldn't hit ships that changed direction randomly. Their formations crumbled under attacks that came from impossible angles. "War Commander," Krellenith tried desperately to adapt. "Reform defensive positions," he ordered. "Concentrate fire on the largest human ships." But even as his fleet tried to reorganize, the human fighters continued their deadly work. The Hornet AI had learned alien tactics completely and began predicting their movements with terrifying accuracy. Lieutenant Colonel Pete Jackson led his squadron in a maneuver that looked like complete madness. His ships flew directly at the alien battle line, spinning and weaving through defensive fire. At the last second, they scattered in 12 different directions, each one targeting a different alien ship with quantum disruption missiles. 12 more alien ships dissolved into atoms. High Chancellor Vextar watched the battle from his distant station, his massive form shaking with rage and disbelief. "This is impossible," he roared. No primitive species could defeat the Montari swarm. But the tactical displays told a different story. In just 2 hours of fighting, the human fleet had destroyed or disabled nearly half the alien force. The remainder were scattered and confused. Their rigid command structure broken by attacks that followed no military logic. Admiral Martinez opened communications to the alien flagship. War Commander Krellenith's image appeared on screen, his compound eyes wide with shock and fear. "War Commander," Admiral Martinez said politely, "I believe you wanted to discuss surrender terms. This. This cannot be happening," Krellenith stammered. "Your ships number less than ours. Your technology is primitive. How?" "Because you don't understand what you're fighting," Admiral Martinez explained. "You see chaos where we see tactics. You see random movement where we see perfect coordination. You've been using the same strategies for so long, you forgot that. There might be other ways to fight." Around the alien flagship, human ships moved in impossible formations, their weapons ready to fire. The quantum disruption missiles hung in space like invisible death, waiting for orders. "Your fleet is broken," Admiral Martinez continued. "Your tactics are useless against us. You can surrender now, or we can finish destroying you. Your choice." War Commander Krelinov looked at his tactical displays. Of his 500 ships, less than 200 remained functional. The humans had achieved something that had never happened in galactic history. They had defeated a council fleet in open combat. I surrender," he said quietly dot across the galaxy. The news spread at light speed. The mighty Galactic Council, rulers of 10,000 worlds, had been defeated by a primitive species that had barely learned to travel between stars. But this was just the beginning. Earth had struck back, and the galaxy would never be the same. High Chancellor Vextar paced across his massive throne room, his heavy footsteps echoing off the metal walls. Around him, holographic displays showed the disaster at Earth over and over again. 500 ships reduced to less than 200 in just 3 hours. "Explain this to me again," he growled at the cowering Mantari officer who had escaped the battle. Sub-Commander Thackeray's forearms shook as he activated the recording device. "High Chancellor, they use weapons we have never seen. Their ships became untouchable, like ghosts. Their fighters moved in patterns that our computers could not predict." "Impossible," Vextar said. "No primitive species developed such technology. Someone must be helping them. Sir, we detected no other alien signatures. These weapons and tactics appear to be entirely human in design." Across the galaxy, the news of humanity's victory spread through subspace communications faster than anyone could stop it. On the council station, emergency meetings were called as representatives from all 12 member species demanded answers. Speaker Nothel of the Zephyrians stood before the assembly, his gray skin pale with shock. "In 10,000 years of Galactic rule, no species has ever defeated a council enforcement fleet. How do we explain this to our people?" The crystalline delegate from Nexa Prime chimed like broken glass. "Perhaps we underestimated them. Perhaps we should have sent a larger force." "Larger?" Vextar roared. 500 ships were larger than most worlds see in a century. These humans did something impossible. But the damage was already done. Throughout the galaxy, species that had been conquered by the Council for millennia heard the news and began to whisper among themselves. In the slave factories of Korathi Prime, workers stopped their tasks to listen to forbidden radio transmissions. Korathi Mine Supervisor Gethel heard the news while overseeing crystal extraction deep underground. His people had been enslaved by the Council for over 2,000 years, forced to mine the rare crystals that powered Council technology. "Is it true?" asked his assistant, Mirith, her voice barely a whisper. "Did the humans really win?" Gethel looked around carefully, making sure no council overseers were listening. "The reports say they destroyed over half the Mantari fleet, made them surrender." For the first time in centuries, hope stirred in Korathi hearts. On Earth, Captain Jenny Walsh stood on the bridge of the exploration ship Pioneer, watching the captured Mantari vessels being studied by human scientists. The defeated alien ships had been taken to a secret facility in the asteroid belt. "Dr. Thompson, what have you learned?" she asked. Dr. Carl Thompson, Earth's leading expert on alien technology, looked up from his analysis. His hair was messy, and his eyes were bright with excitement. "Jenny, this is incredible," he said. "Their technology is advanced, but it's old. Really old. They haven't innovated in thousands of years. They just keep using the same designs over and over. What does that mean for us?" "It means we can improve it," Dr. Thompson said with a grin. "Human creativity combined with their advanced materials, we can build things they never dreamed of." Around Earth's solar system, human engineering teams work frantically to reverse engineer alien technology. But instead of simply copying it, they improved it with human intuition and creative thinking. The quantum disruption missiles became more efficient. The phase shift technology was refined to last longer. The Hornet fighters were upgraded with alien materials that made them even, faster and deadlier. But the most important development was happening in the diplomatic sector. Ambassador Nicole Rodriguez sat in her office in Geneva, reading reports from across the galaxy. "Ma'am," her assistant. "Sire, we're receiving encrypted communications from over 40 different worlds. They're all asking the same thing, which is, how did we do it? And can we help them do the same?" Nicole smiled. This was exactly what Earth's leaders had hoped for. The victory over the Mantari fleet wasn't just about military success. It was about inspiring others to resist. On the remote world of Nazar 7, a species of bird-like creatures had been forced to provide the Council with food for their massive fleets. Their leader, Windsinger Caliph, gathered his people in secret. "The humans have shown us something we thought was impossible," he said, his feathers rustling with excitement. "The Council can be defeated. Their ships can be destroyed. Their power is not absolute." Similar meetings were happening on dozens of worlds. Species that had given up hope were suddenly asking dangerous questions. Why should they serve the Council? What would happen if they refused? Could they fight back like the humans had? High Chancellor Vextar tried to control the situation by declaring martial law across Council space. But his forces were stretched thin, and for the first time in millennia, they faced the possibility of multiple rebellions. "Sir," his intelligence chief reported, "we're detecting unauthorized communications between at least 60 subject worlds. They're sharing information about human tactics and technology." "Cut the communications," Vextar ordered. "We've tried, sir. But the humans are helping them. They're using some kind of quantum encrypted network that we can't break." On Earth, Dr. Sarah Williams coordinated the secret communication network from her hidden command center. Human quantum communication technology was being shared with the press, species across the galaxy. "Status report," she said to her communications officer. "We now have contact with resistance groups on 73 worlds," Lieutenant Karen Stone reported. "They're asking for weapons, tactics, and technical support." "What about the Council's response?" "They're pulling ships from border systems to reinforce the core worlds. But that's leaving the outer territories vulnerable." Dr. Williams smiled. "Perfect. Signal Captain Walsh. It's time for Phase 2 of our expansion." Captain Jenny Walsh received the orders aboard the Pioneer. Her ship was the first of 12 new exploration vessels, built with hybrid human-alien technology and crewed by volunteers from Earth's military. "Set course for the Korathi system," she ordered. "It's time to make some new friends." The Pioneer and its sister ships launched from hidden bases throughout the solar system. Each carried advanced weapons, communication equipment, and most importantly, the knowledge of how to fight the Council dock as human ships spread across the galaxy. They carried something more powerful than weapons. They carried the idea that freedom was possible, that the Council could be resisted, that no species had to accept slavery. On the Council station, Vextar stared at tactical displays showing human ships appearing in distant star systems. Resistance. Movements were springing up everywhere the humans went. "How many ships do they have?" he demanded. "We don't know, sir," his aide replied nervously. "Every time we think we've counted them all, more appear. And they're building new ones using our own captured technology." "This is not possible," Vextar said. "One primitive species cannot threaten an empire that spans the galaxy." But deep in his massive heart, he was beginning to understand the truth. The humans had done more than win a battle. They had started a revolution. Across the galaxy, species that had been enslaved for millennia were remembering what freedom meant. And they were learning that the Council's greatest weakness was their inability to imagine that things could change. The humans had shown them that change was not only possible, it was inevitable. And the galaxy would never be the same. High Chancellor Vextar stood in the center of his war room, surrounded by tactical displays showing rebellions across the galaxy. Red warning lights flashed on over 60 star systems where subject species had risen against Council rule. "Gather! Every ship," he commanded his admirals. every vessel from every member world. I want 5,000 ships assembled at Kepler 442. His military advisor, General Mort-Uk, clicked his mandibles nervously. Sir, that will leave our borders completely undefended. The outer territories will be vulnerable. There will be no outer territories if we don't crush this rebellion now, Vextar growled. The humans started this. We ended by destroying Earth completely. Across the galaxy, the largest fleet in Council history began to assemble. Ships from all 12 member species converged on the neutron star system. Montari warships, Zephyrian, cruisers, crystalline Nexari vessels, and dozens of other alien designs filled space around the Council station. But intelligence reports were already reaching Admiral Troy Martinez on Earth. The humans had spent months building a network of allies and informants. Nothing the Council did remain secret for long. 5,000 ships, Admiral Martinez said to his assembled commanders. The largest force ever assembled in galactic history. Commander Bess Sullivan studied the tactical displays. Sir, even with our allies, we'll be outnumbered 3-1. Numbers aren't everything, Admiral Martinez replied. We've learned that the hard way. Signal our allies. It's time for the final battle. Throughout the galaxy, the call went out. Human ships and their alien allies began moving toward Kepler 442. Captain Jenny Walsh brought a fleet of liberated Karathi vessels, their crystal-powered weapons upgraded with human technology. Windsinger Khaled H led the bird-like, Nazarian sleek fighters that could outmaneuver anything the Council had. Even some Council species had defected. A group of younger Montari, tired of their leadership's rigid thinking, brought 50 ships to join the human alliance. The rebellion had grown beyond anything Vextar had imagined. Dr. Carl Thompson worked frantically in his laboratory on Earth, making final preparations. The new quantum disruption warheads are ready, he reported to Admiral Martinez. But, sir, we only have enough materials for 12 of them. 12 shots to change the galaxy, Admiral Martinez said quietly. Let's make them count. The two fleets met in the space around Kepler 442, where humanity had first been humiliated by the Council's arrogance. Now they returned with allies and weapons the Council had never imagined. High Chancellor Vextar commanded the battle from his massive flagship, the Dominion. Around him, 5,000 ships arranged themselves in the traditional Council battle formation that had conquered the galaxy. Begin the attack, he ordered. Show these rebels the price of defying the Council. The Council fleet opened fire with devastating force. Energy beams and plasma bolts filled space with deadly light. But Admiral Martinez had learned from the first battle. The human-led alliance didn't fight in straight lines or predictable patterns. Commander Pete Jackson led a mixed squadron of human and Karathi ships in a spiraling attack that confused the Council's targeting computers. The aliens still thought in terms of organized formations and logical tactics. All ships, execute pattern freedom, Admiral Martinez commanded. Across the Alliance fleet, ships began moving in the chaotic, unpredictable patterns that had become humanity's signature. But now they weren't alone. Alien allies had learned human tactics and added their own innovations. The Nazari fighters moved like flocks of birds, swarming around Council ships in impossible formations. The Karathi vessels used their crystal technology to bend energy beams in unexpected directions. Even the defected Mantari had abandoned their species' rigid tactics for human-inspired creativity. High Chancellor Vextar watched his organized battle plan fall apart within minutes. How are they coordinating without proper command structure? He demanded, but that was the point. Humans didn't use rigid command structures. They trusted their people to think for themselves, to adapt and improvise. Every ship in the Alliance fleet was free to make its own decisions while working toward the common goal. The battle raged for hours. Ships exploded and died on both sides, but slowly the Council's numerical advantage began to erode. Their predictable tactics were no match for the Alliance's creative chaos. Captain Danny Brooks, now commanding the carrier Enterprise, launched. Wave after wave of upgraded Hornet fighters. The AI-controlled craft had learned from previous battles and shared that knowledge instantly across the fleet. Admiral, came a transmission from Dr. Sarah Williams on Earth. We're detecting massive energy buildups in the Council flagship. I think Vexstar is preparing some kind of super weapon. Admiral Martinez studied his displays. The Dominion was indeed gathering enormous amounts of power. If that weapon fired, it could destroy dozens of Alliance ships at once. This is it, he said to his crew. Signal Commander Sullivan. Execute Operation Final Strike. Commander Beth Sullivan received the order aboard her stealth ship, the Shadow. For months, her engineers had been working on a special mission. Her ship was equipped with all 12 of the quantum disruption warheads Dr. Thompson had created. Beginning infiltration run, she reported. The Shadow used advanced phase shift technology to become completely invisible and intangible. It slipped through the Council fleet like a ghost, heading directly for the Dominion. High Chancellor Vexstar was so focused on his super weapon that he never saw the human ship appear inside his flagship shields. By the time his sensors detected the Shadow, it was too late. Firing all warheads, Commander Sullivan announced. 12 quantum disruption missiles struck the Dominion simultaneously. The massive flagship, symbol of Council power for 10,000 years, began to dissolve at the atomic level. High Chancellor Vexstar had time for one final transmission before his ship disappeared. This is impossible, he said, his voice filled with disbelief. We ruled the galaxy. We were eternal. Nothing is eternal, Admiral Martinez replied. Freedom always finds a way. The Dominion vanished into scattered atoms. With their leader gone and their tactics useless, the Council fleet began to surrender in groups. Some ships fled to distant systems. Others simply stopped fighting and requested mercy. The battle was over. After 10,000 years, the Galactic Council's reign had ended. 6 months later, representatives from hundreds of worlds gathered on a neutral station to form a new government. President Helen Cross of Earth addressed the assembly, but she was not the leader. This new alliance had no single ruler. We gather not as conquerors and conquered, she said, but as equals. Every species, every world, every voice matters in this new galaxy. The Free Galactic Alliance was born from the ashes of the old empire. Humans serve alongside former enemies, sharing technology and knowledge freely. The Mantari learn human creativity. Humans learn Karafi crystal science. The Nizari taught everyone new ways to fly. Commander Jake Morrison, now an ambassador, met with former Council species to help them adjust to freedom. Many have forgotten what it meant to make their own decisions after millennia of following orders. It will take time, he told a group of former Council officers. Freedom is harder than slavery, but it's worth it. Dr. Lisa Parker established schools throughout the galaxy where different species could learn from each other. The rigid thinking that had dominated galactic civilization for so long was replaced by the human concepts of creativity, cooperation, and hope. Years later, exploration fleets from dozens of species pushed into unknown regions of space. They carried with them the lesson humanity had taught the galaxy, that diversity was strength, that creativity could overcome any obstacle, and that no one should ever have to surrender their freedom. The galaxy was vast and full of wonders. And now, for the first time in 10,000 years, every species was free to explore it together. Commander Beth Sullivan's final log entry captured the moment perfectly. Humanity came to the stars as a small, primitive species. We leave this chapter as part of something much greater. The universe is infinite, and so is the potential of free people working together. The stars themselves seemed brighter in the new galaxy, lit by the hope that freedom had brought to every world.